Right now, as we watch nervously, and we continue to watch for the results of Super Tuesday to come in, there are countless other races across the country that most people are not paying any attention to. They are local elections for city council, state senate, and the impact of those races have the potential to ripple out across the nation. Today, we're talking to one changemaker who's hoping to bring her civil rights activism to the New York City Council, Chivona Newsome. Chivona is a Bronx native and the co-founder of Black Lives Matter Greater New York. She's a civil rights leader at the forefront of new civil rights movement and a former financial advisor at New York Life. I might need your help on that as we go in. What do we do? The market's crashed. Okay. She has dedicated her whole adult life to the betterment of her community and our nation as a whole. Her parents met at a civil rights rally in the 60s. So you could say that Chivona has been born into this fight. Chivona, thank you so much for joining us on the Twitchcast today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I was very thrilled that we were able to meet when you were on the program on WBAI. So I'm really happy to have you in this format as well.
And for act.tv, that's how we met. You were filming the Impeach Trump Now.
That's right. And then I said, you are fabulous. Could you please come on act.tv on WBAI?
Yeah, and then I had a show by like the end.
I know, because you were so great. I said, give this woman a show, and they did.
Thank you, Julianna. Every time I sit down with you, it's magic.
Yes. Well, I wonder what will happen today. I know.
I'm excited.
You win your race. Well, first, before we get to the local politics, can you give me your thoughts? I know you're a founding member, co-founder of the Black Lives Matter Greater New York. Can you give me your thoughts on what is happening in the Democratic Party? I don't know where to even begin with that.
Yeah, it's just been a lot like these last 4 years. There's been a lot of bickering back and forth, and the people on the ground, marginalized people, we haven't had any meaningful legislation come to pass. I wish there was more unity in the party, because now everything's a big label. It's like, are you a progressive? Are you a corporate Dem? Are you a moderate Dem? But the only people who are suffering are the people who've been suffering. So I wish we'd unite as a party and get some things done, pass some laws that help people.
When it comes to the primary and the Super Tuesday that we saw last night, there is a fight for the hearts and minds of the African-American community. Joe Biden has a certain resonance with the African-American community in the South. Bernie Sanders, due to his civil rights legacy, has a certain resonance as well, and all of the work that he has put in. What are your thoughts about these two main front-runner candidates, and how the fight for civil rights would differ under either administration?
I'm a little tired of politicians pandering to the Black vote. Because it seems like, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say the uncomfortable thing. When
Please.
It's election time, just in my capacity as co-founding Black Lives Matter Greater New York and Black Lives Caucus, which is our political arm, everyone loves Black people during election time because Black people love to go out and vote. So they come and they sing at our churches and they kiss our babies. But what meaningful legislation do any of these two candidates have? Is there something for reparations? Is there something for police reform, criminal justice reform? Not just talking points, but it's just a lot of pandering. And most people in politics know that South Carolina, as much as we talk about the Iowa caucus, South Carolinians, they pick the president. They pick the Democratic nominee, rather. And that's why everyone's been setting up shop there since early 2019. And I think it's all pretty fake. I wish I had a more optimistic.
But wouldn't a program like Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All be a program that would help the disenfranchised?
Yes, it absolutely would. And I do stand by that. I stand by that and universal basic income, because you can't ask people to pull themselves up by the bootstraps if they have no boots. So a lot of my policy is social programming. And I do believe in Bernie's policies. I have some issues, and I take issues with Joe Biden in terms of the work that he has done. I know that everyone deserves a second chance, but when we look back on mass incarceration and how many Black families have been torn apart for the things they used to lobby on, it's just a little bit for me to swallow. It's kind of hard for me to chew. But I do agree with Bernie's politics. I do believe in a lot of social programming because we need it. People need help.
Chivona, you are running for the New York 15th, which is really exciting, and I support you in that. Can you talk about what it is like? What is the difference? You're coming from the movement background, and we have a few politicians in New York City who have come from the movement background, from an activist background. It's a little bit different from coming up from other backgrounds, like, say, being a millionaire.
I
or
wish
just
I was. My campaign would be well funded. I
I know.
wish
I'm
I did
sorry
come
I
from that.
haven't sent money yet. I'm
No,
like,
it's
oh,
okay. It's okay. Thank you for having me and giving me a platform as always.
not
But
at all.
it is a
Yeah, go
little
ahead.
bit different coming from where I come from because I identify as being a revolutionary, a radical leader. Me and my organization have shut down the FDR to bring light to Eric Gardner and get Officer Daniel Pantaleo fired. Front lines for Stop the Bans, women's rights movement. What a lot of people don't know about my work is for all marginalized people, for the LGBTQ community, for anyone who has been left out in the cold by a so-called system, by the government. I have been on the front lines. So yes, as opposed to the other people who are running against me, it's an open seat. Jose Serrano's retiring. There started out with about 15 candidates. I think now we're about down to a good 10, and we're literally in the middle of petitioning season. So it makes me
Ooh,
different. Yeah, I haven't built those alliances. Like the progressive movement is becoming quite similar to the old school Dem machine establishment. So people have built friendships and they're getting endorsements based on the friendships that they had. And in terms of the Democratic Party, people usually start out being an intern in college and they know that they want to be a career politician. So that kind of leaves me here, the revolutionary who's fighting for change. So it is very different being an activist and being a movement founder and a huge force in that. It is a little different.
that is wonderful, and I hope people will help you and help you build your connections that you will need, obviously, to move forward. It is a game, isn't it?
I have learned that it's a game because politics are a little different to let people into insight. Say in activism, if we don't like you or don't like a cause, it's pretty raw, it's pretty transparent, but we'll literally have debates and like tear each other to shreds on stage. And after it's like, congratulations, you did wonderful. It's a whole game. Absolutely.
Mhm. I'm scrolling through to make sure I get the questions that are coming in. Again, make sure if you're putting questions in our chat that you put them in all caps, because I am not going to be able to see them unless you do that. Um, Excellent. So you were a financial advisor. You worked on the $50 billion challenge, which created college savings, retirement plans, and generational wealth for over 300 Black and Brown residents of New York, which is huge. Can you
Thank
talk
you.
a little bit about the financial situation that the precarious financial situation that people in your district and other marginalized communities are facing, given what's happening under the current regime?
Well, my district is actually the poorest congressional district in the nation. And it's astonishing that it's in one of the richest cities in the world. And it's absolutely by design. My district has been redlined. And unfortunately, I would love to blame everything on Trump because I am not a fan. I've stood against him, I've protested against him. But the people in my community have not seen a difference from Bush to Obama to Trump and to whoever November holds as our new president elect. So it's been systemically oppressed and neglected. Our school systems are failing. We have a 90% college dropout rate, 40% high school dropout rate, and we are living far below the national poverty line. So it kind of doesn't really matter who's in office and the president in the White House, but it's based on local leaders neglecting our community.
Why would people even turn out to vote after all of these decades, other than to vote for you because you're awesome? But
Thank you. We are
I mean, you
mobilizing
seem to
people.
get it. Yeah, you seem
I
to
get
get
it.
it.
I get, and
Yeah.
people were literally registering to vote. My district has about 420,000 registered votes, and I know because as we speak, my team is knocking on doors and meeting people where they are. But it is historically low. Like say the last few cycles, it's only been about 10,000 people coming out to the polls for this type of election. So people have lost all hope, and the buoyancy of hope has turned into the despair of fatigue in my community.
Mhm, mhm. Can you talk about the kinds of policies on the local level and the national level that would help your community?
Fully funding NYSHA would
NYSHA, which is,
absolutely
in case you're not from New York, because we have
public housing
people,
projects.
yeah, we have
It's
people
like
all over the world watching. Yeah.
public housing. NYSHA is the acronym for New York City's public housing.
Mhm.
The housing that's supposed to be great for people to live in who can't afford market value apartments.
Which
And
is
I've
going
been
to be all of us pretty soon.
yeah, New York City housing
Mm.
market. And I've actually done work on that. The New York State Tenant Protection Act, which passed in 2019, I lobbied for that. Shut down our state capital in New York, which is up in Albany. So less people are actually getting evicted. And I did this without being an elected official, without having a huge army, just my voice, a bullhorn, and a lot of shutting things down. But the local level is absolutely important. A lot of things that we blame on the president, if our local electeds from your state assemblies to your local congressperson, if they pass meaningful legislation and fought for you, you would have these things. That's why it's so important that people vote for in local elections and vote in midterm elections. My policies, as I earlier mentioned, having a guaranteed income, Martin Luther King actually believed in it to eradicate poverty. Andrew Yang has brought it to the forefront this last cycle, universal health care, affordable housing, because all of my policies come from polling people, not what's trendy, not what's trending, but talking to my neighbors and friends. And that's how we came with our policy.
One of our questions coming in from the stream chat from Thriller 57 asks, why do, I don't want to put you on the spot to talk for all Black
Go
people.
for it. I'm used to being on the spot. Go for it.
Okay, good. Why do older Black voters go for Biden, who did nothing to fundamentally change their life, over someone who offers at least or some change? That's the question.
Well, because I'm not a politician, I can be absolutely transparent. Especially Black voters in the South are extremely conservative. So some of the new ideas and the candidates that we have now are just a little bit too liberal for them. And the terms socialism, it kind of coincides with people and registers. I don't know why it's communism, and the way the media is portrayed it. That Black voting bloc, which I'm a part of, we just couldn't. They just couldn't get it. It just couldn't happen. They couldn't understand. So they understand Joe Biden. They understand his rhetoric, his political messaging, because he's been a politician for a very long time and is someone they're comfortable with. I think that the media's done a good job as painting Bernie Sanders and his ideas as too progressive, even though those policies would benefit the people of the South and Black voters as a whole most.
Thank you. That actually really helps. How do we get the message across that those policies would, I really like the way you started the interview, which is like, let's look at the policies. Who cares what the people are saying? And if we like them personally or whatever, what policies, what are you going to do for us, kind of thing?
Universal basic income, affordable housing, jobs for all, workplace democracy. Because if I'm speaking as a Black woman, which I absolutely am, super proud of that. When we had unions, America only has 7% of unions. When we had unions in this country, it actually helped Black people rise to the middle class. It actually lessened the gender pay gap and kind of leveled the playing field. So bringing back that, and also the Green New Deal is very important to me, because climate injustice affects people of color and low-income communities most. In the Bronx, in my district, we have something called Asthma Alley, where my friends have asthma, their children have asthma, and we know that when we have this climate crisis happening, it's going to affect those communities the most.
Look at this woman. Do you not want this woman like starting out in the city council and then moving up the ranks? I mean, this is why it's important to vote in our local
I kind of
election.
skipped the ranks. I kind of jumped it a little bit. I'm just heading straight to Congress. I'm
going. Oh, Congress. My bad.
I'm going straight to DC to change some federal laws, because
forget the ranks. Yes, that's right. Oh my God.
Yeah, people so actually have a huge issue with that. They want me to run up the ranks, but DC needs me in some meaningful.
No. We can't. The ranks are going to take too long. We're in a climate emergency.
We need it.
So one of our guests, one of our stream chatters put Chivona Newsome for Congress.com in the stream chat. So you can go there, you can donate, you can support, you can follow the campaign. Okay, Thriller 57 asks, Martin Luther King supported socialist policies. Why does Bernie's plan not resonate in that way?
I think it's meeting people where they are and just delivering a message for everyone to understand. If
he pulls in, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but what if he pulls in like a Stacey Abrams or, Andrew Gillum as a running
I think
mate?
that would be magic. I think he absolutely should consider someone and make history, because my candidacy is going to be history. Once we are elected, I will be the first Black woman to hold this seat. So I think
am very excited for you.
I think he should make history as well. I think he should pull in. a woman or male of color, someone who can speak to that base and understand it. It's just a matter of communication. And I think that Bernie, coming from the Northeast and these policies and ideas, he needs someone who speaks the language. I know we all speak English, but he needs someone who can communicate better with his future constituents.
I love the South. I'm not going to lie.
My family's from the South.
I
So
love the South. I understand what you mean
South
about having
Carolina,
a different
actually.
language.
My mother's from South Carolina. I spent a lot of time there, and even being born and raised in the Bronx in New York, the way that I speak to people in the South is a little bit different. It's about kindness, it's about manners, it's about putting icing on everything. It's very different than the way we communicate in the North.
We are so the opposite.
Absolutely.
We're like, get the job done and move on.
That's it.
Yes, exactly. Is there anything else you'd like to say to folks who are watching? How can they support your campaign? And what should they keep in mind as we continue to watch all the different campaigns unfold in this election season?
Well, to support my campaign, is that wonderful person put, is Chivona Newsome for Congress. We are not taking any corporate PACs. Our campaign is unbought and unbossed. So every single donation that we've received has come from an individual who believes in this movement and believes that I will continue to fight. Follow me on social media at New York Bonnie. And in terms of who you pick for president, you have to look at it in terms of policy and who being in office will benefit you most. Will it benefit you to have social programs, to have healthcare, to have jobs guaranteed? And you need to look at it blindly, not look at the person, not the sound of their voice, but scroll their websites, look at their history, and vote on who's best for you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. And I hope you'll come back, and I wish you well. And
I'm excited to come back.
I'm going to tell you to come to some of ACT.tv's events, because if you need to meet progressive handshakers, I got the Rolodex. Let's get this together.
Well, you have my direct number. Text me anytime and I am there.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming on. I really
Take care, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Bye. Chivona Newsome, running for New York's 15th. Boy, wouldn't she be a wonderful breath of, I hope you're not going to stop talking exactly like that once you get in. I hope you're going to be
I don't know how. I only know how to be a real person, a truth speaker.
Oh my God, if you win, that's going to be great. I look forward to it.
It's happening.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I'm sorry. No, yes.
I believe you. I believe you, and I believe in everyone who believes in this movement. I'm so grateful to each and every one of you.
When I met you, I knew you were going to do huge things, which is, of course, why I invited you on.
You supported me like the whole time since we met. You've been a day one, as we'd say in the Bronx. You're a day one supporter.
Thank you. By the way, I love the Bronx. Anyway, I will see you soon at an event near you. And thanks again for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.